Alrighty guys, today we're going to talk about my NFT system, and it's not a true NFT system. And I've just got some pictures because this was way before I was on YouTube and Facebook and everything and putting videos out. I didn't have a camera to do that. I just took some photos. This was for my own self, and I wasn't contemplating or anticipating putting out videos. So I've got some pictures. Some of them are okay, some aren't that good, but at least you'll get a picture and understand what's going on and how it kind of helped me develop the systems that I use now. These are fantastic. Y'all can use them. I like to teach cheap and easy, and that's why we, just use like the downspouts and we just put the nutrients in here, grow our plants. Cheap and easy. Just about anyone can do that, right? Now, I didn't start like that. I started with one of these systems and the nutrient film technique. That's NFT nutrient film technique. Commercial growers use it, and it's not like this with the round sewer pipe. It's actually a flat channel, and that's why it's called nutrient film, is because the nutrients would just flow along the bottom like really thin, just a little, just water. If you like poured water on a ramp and it just rolled down, and basically the plants were grown in something like rock wool or some other medium like that. And when the roots would get long enough where they came out the bottom, they would actually take those and just set them inside these channels, and the roots would be down inside the nutrients that were flowing by. Now, mine, you can see it's with the brown sewer pipes. The reason why I did that was because I was looking into it and it looked real fascinating to me. But these channels were like really expensive for like just one of them. And then I think you had to have it shipped by truck. There was all kind of cost in it. And I wanted to try it, and there was no hydroponic shop right around me where I could go pick one up or anything. So I saw a couple of things on YouTube where some people built like an A-frame, and they had a whole bunch of these 4-inch PVC pipes set up and all kind of tubes and drains coming back down to a reservoir, and then it pumping it back up. It's like, that's cool, but that looks like a whole bunch of piping and all kinds of stuff to set up. I didn't want to do that. Then I saw another one where somebody set up one and it just had one tube going to the top and it went back and forth and it was kind of steep. So I wanted to build one, but I didn't want it all that steep. So what I did was I got some PVC. There we go. This you can see from the back. I had a little makeshift greenhouse. We'll talk about that in another video. But this was just set up. I just had two pipes, and this was just up on the top. And along the back, you can see this was dill, basil, all kinds of herbs, and that just went wild in the system. And pretty much I just had one pipe going down and coming back, and I didn't even have a pipe going down to the reservoir. You see the 100-gallon Rubbermaid water trough in the bottom. I didn't even have a pipe going down. I just had it drizzling out like a waterfall. I figured that kind of aerate the water a little bit. And it grew a lot of stuff. You can see all the lettuce, leaf lettuce just went wild in it. I think this was during the fall. There's some more dill and everything. This is the leaf lettuce. We had green leaf, red lettuce. We tried all kind of leaf lettuces, and we had more than we could eat. So this probably all should have been harvested, and start over. But this was our first attempt, and they just kept growing. And we're like, wow, we're just amazed and wanting to see, what would grow. Let's see, you can kind of see it here. So you can see it just comes down one side, and right here, right near me, right here is just a little bend, and it goes down to the other end. I don't know, you probably see it like right there. There's a little break in it. So you can see where the first two were together. And then I was going to add this other section on because this was growing and was going wild. And we were like, wow, let's put some more out here and see what else we can do. And this is where, so I came back around. It went back and forth. And then I had that little space going down like right here. And then you could put a couple more in. And then it came down and emptied back into the reservoir. And in the reservoir, we had a little fountain pump that pumped up 6 feet. I didn't need it much higher than that. And it just pumped it back up. So it just recirculated. You see, we've got, this was just in little Dixie cups too, instead of using the net cups. I didn't want to buy like tons and tons of net cups and have to clean them out. The Dixie cups back then, I could get like a pack of 100 for like, I think $1.99 or something, or I think a pack of 50 was at the Dollar Tree, which was $1 back then, not $1.25 now. There we go. I still just had that right there where it was just coming out. And I didn't have the next section hooked up. And so it's just real makeshift stuff. It's real, easy to do. It doesn't have to be difficult. You can see when I put this new piece on here, I just put a 2x4 and I just connected it with zip ties. So it ran like this for a little while until I got ready to hook it up. So I went and just got a slip joint, turned it off, put the slip joint on there, and turned it back on. And right there you can see the black tube. So that's just a fountain pump with a little 1/2 inch tubing, and it goes up and it just goes into the end of the pipe there by the shard. Right here you can kind of see like the cap on the end of it and the tube going right into the end. And then we got all of that hooked up. We put a slip joint on, and then we stuck some other small plants in there and still had the lettuce going. We had more than me and my wife could eat. And dill, we don't eat all that much dill, but it just kept going wild. So we could have just kept this trimmed, but, like I said, it was our first time. We just wanted to see what was going on. What else we got? Red leaf lettuce. Got you some more pictures. Now, this is Swiss chard, and people, because I showed a video of me growing beets just not too long ago, like a week ago, so they thought this was beets too. This was actually Swiss chard. It was from the rainbow chard, and this thing went wild. You can see how big it is. I wouldn't grow it this big. You can see, I might have it in another picture, the little black things around the bottom. That's where when you cut the leaves and then the stem kind of dries up, and you just keep harvesting that, and then little ones keep popping up in the middle. And you can actually cut the small ones in the middle if you don't cut them all off because you want it to keep growing. But if you want some of the tender ones too. But me and my wife would use these as a wrap instead of, she was trying to figure out her allergies, and we're trying to figure out if it was wheat. So she wasn't eating wheat wrappers. So she wanted something to wrap her like burritos and fish tacos and all of that in. So we would grow these and use them for wraps. So we wouldn't cut the whole thing. If you cut it and you fry it, it comes up, you can cut all of that and you'd get like a 1/2 cup of greens or something for your dinner, right? So you got to grow like loads of this stuff. But if you're using like we were using it for just wraps, or we cut some and drop it in our smoothies and that, you don't need all that much. You can take this and just slice up a little bit, throw it in your salads. So we didn't use a whole lot, and this thing just grew wild, but we planted a couple more. I wouldn't plant this in here. I would harvest this before it got this big, because the roots, you would not believe the roots on this, filled up this entire pipe to where the water would back up and it'd be coming out here where the little mint is, and it'd empty all the water out of there. So, and then you couldn't just pull it out. It would actually get big enough, it'd form a big root, just like a beet in there, and it would block up the whole thing. So if I grew something like chard, if you guys want something like this, I've got a couple of other pictures. I'll show you about when you should harvest it. There's squash. You can grow squash. We grew a couple of squash on there, but then after a while, because of the humid environment and everything, we kept getting powdery mildew. So the squash looked pretty. You can eat the squash blossoms, but we didn't get very many squash off of there. It looked nice in that too. Here's just more pictures of the stuff. We grew a ton of leaf lettuce, but then we also had bib lettuce, and those came out pretty good. We liked, I think we've got a couple pictures of that. Here's another shard right here at the end, and a couple more. So you can see everything's just filled up. This thing just kept going and going. And let's see right here, just more, loads of greens, another bib lettuce. All right, so you can see all the stuff growing on here. We trimmed off the squash. I should have just pulled it out of there, but it had some more tiny leaves coming up. Like I said, this was experimenting, so we wanted to see what was going on. And then we've got curtain on the back here. So you can tell this was during the winter time, and it doesn't get real cold here in Florida. It drops down to like the 20s at the most. So we went ahead and just put some of these up, and it kept everything warm. So you're going to see, that everything kept going through the winter. Our dino kale that was up there, the chard just kept going and going, and we kept eating it. It was just like a monster. There's more of the dino kale, and the dill still blooming. There's some peas. The peas did okay too. It wasn't like prolific. We didn't have a whole bunch. We had some, they grew, and we, you see the flowers and it looked nice, but we didn't get a whole lot of peas. And this is, we're trying to grow like a bunch of different stuff all at one time. I don't know if that was the best thing to do too. So there's just some more pictures. And like we said, it's moving back and forth. One thing, the nutrients, I use the same thing that we use, the master blend, and the same formula that we use in here, I did the same thing. I just figured we had a 100-gallon tank and I only kept it half full. So I would only do like 50 gallons and I would measure it. I'd fill that up halfway and then I'd get enough nutrients that would equal 50 gallons and I just dump it in there. And I just did that when it would get down a little bit low. I just estimate, you can tell if this was 50 gallons, if you were down 25 gallons or, when you went and I just added a little bit. If you really want to do something like this and get into it, you can get your meters, you can test your EC levels and everything. And when it gets down and you add some more and check all of that or, just check periodically. So you can really, I want to show you guys the easiest way. This is like carefree. I didn't measure anything. Like I said, I don't have any meters with me. I've never had any meters. I didn't check my pH or anything. And this is just everything running. But on this place too, one added side note is that we had a well. So this wasn't city water. Here's a couple more. Now see that chart? I planted that one at the end instead of the beginning. And the roots would start to grow and it'd grow out the little tube and down into the tank. And I could always give it a little haircut. But that's about the size right there when I would, if I'm growing chard in this system, if it gets about that big, that's about how big I would let it get. And then I would just go ahead and harvest it. And here's some more, like I said, so, leaf lettuce, some looks like they're about to bolt, but I mean, they're getting huge. And we had so much lettuce, we couldn't like give it away. The tank. Now, some people will ask, and that, yeah, you could cover it. You should cover it. This was my first try. I was just, I threw it out there. I wasn't buying a whole lot of things. I just bought the 4-inch sewer pipes, hooked those up together, used lumber that we had laying around. And this was a spare tank that was sitting there and wasn't being used. So I was just using stuff that we had, and I didn't bother covering it up. It would just sat in the open. So since it was open and had nutrients, my wife would throw mint in there and we'd just have mint floating around. So it wasn't planted or anything, when you take a little cutting and she just throw it in there and it just start growing. So we just had, as much mint as we needed from there, and it was growing in her planters and everything else. So it was all over the place. And because of the back here, you can see it was hard to get to. So it went around the post. If I did this again like that, I would have put it in the center of the greenhouse where I could walk all the way around it. I wasn't thinking about it, but I didn't think they would grow like that big. I couldn't get to the back. So that was a little bit of a problem. See the front, everything's easy to get to, but that pipe that went down the back was kind of tough getting there. There's our dino kale. It's pretty cool. Some more lettuce. That's another red leaf lettuce. And this guy got big. He got a little bigger than what you can see the cup starting to split on the bottom. We shouldn't have left him in there that long. More red leaf lettuce. And I'm going to show you how I reconfigure this. Now, I like this system because I put it together with a little bit of silicone on all the joints, just enough so that it wouldn't leak. Now, the whole thing is not filled up with nutrients. The nutrients just run along the bottom. When the roots start getting in there and start growing, it starts blocking it up a little, and that nutrient level starts rising up. And you usually don't leave stuff. If you have the classic NFT system, you don't do that. You just put them in, they grow to a certain size, you harvest it, replace it with something else. And if you're not careful, if it backs up, if the roots get so big, it'll start backing up and it'll start reducing the flow. So if you got to mess around with the angle that you want and how fast you want it going through there. And once your roots start to grow, you're gonna have a different level than when you first started. Now, some people, instead of having just the water flowing too, they'll put like cut little pieces of plastic and put them in there like a dam, so that in the beginning, instead of it just flowing along the bottom where you've got a 4-inch pipe, you're trying to put your plant in there and the roots have to reach down there. They'll put a little dam so this level will be up, and it'll kind of be like the cracky system where it can reach it. But then as water comes in here, it goes over that dam and down around to the next one and the next one. That kind of reduces the water flow. That's just something, wherever you live, you're just going to have to mess with that if you want. Me, I never put one in. But like I said, so these pipes, I put them together with silicone, and when I needed to, I could pop them back off. And since the water wasn't filling the whole pipe, you don't have to silicone the whole pipe. And then when you need to take it apart, you just kind of twist it, pull it, and then clean off the silicone, and you can change it and move it around. And that's what we did here. So because I couldn't reach around to the back of it, Remember I said that the front plants would grow, and then I had a channel going in the back, and it was hard to get to. I just reconfigured it, and that's what I like about like the system too, is it's got a couple of 4x4 posts, and I just used some 2x4 scabs to hold the rest of the pipes. I just figured out where I needed them and just sat there and screwed them in and zip tied them to it. It's a real simple system. All you have to do is hold them the way you want, put a little silicone on your joints, and you're set. So I set this up like this, and my wife liked that. We went ahead and replanted it, grew stuff. So, same old thing with a bunch of lettuce and a bunch of basil and stuff. But then Keely, my wife, wanted it up on the porch where she didn't want to keep walking down here when it was getting dark, especially during the winter months and it got dark early. She had to keep walking out to the greenhouse. So she said, would it be nice up on a porch? So we moved it up on the porch, and that was an easy thing to do. You can see the 2 posts on there, right? Those were the same posts. I just took those, screwed them to the handrail, and then just have all the 2x4s about the same. You can move them around if you need to, but I just brought the pipes and just pulled a couple off where you can take the system, set it up there, zip tie them, and you can see off to the left, there's a black pipe going up. That's the water supply from the fountain going up, and then the little black wire you can see on the right side down there by the handrail, that's the electrical coming in for the pump. And basically that's it. So you have it go back and forth and then just drop back into your reservoir, pump it up to the top. Real simple system. And these pictures, my camera, like I said, I wasn't a photographer and I wasn't doing videos on YouTube. I didn't know how to, so I took a couple pictures. I couldn't even see because it's so bright. So I couldn't see the pictures, that they were just coming out wrong. But you kind of get the picture of what it is, even though the colors are totally wrong here. There you can see it just, you got the one on top, water comes in, your nutrient solution comes in, drops down. And I think that's from 2 packs of leaf lettuce. So you got green leaf and a red leaf. Then we just went and picked up a couple packs where they have like 8 of them in each one and just stuck them in there. And that's what we did for years when I was trying out. And you can see on the handrail right there is my pak choi that's in one of my downspouts. And that's when we first started, doing that. Once that took off and we're like, whoa, we can grow all kinds of food in that without the electricity and the pump and the power and worrying if it's going to get blocked up. And once it blocks up and leaks out, and then your whole crop dies in that, so we could have these cracky things all over the place. So you can see, if you guys want to do something like this, if you're home all the time and you can sit there and watch your stuff and take care of it, it's an excellent system. We enjoyed it for years. So we went through it. You guys can see all the different things we've got on there. We grew all kinds of stuff on there, had fun with it. It's just, when I set it up at my new place, if you guys go look on, I think I've got a couple on Facebook and I got a couple of videos on YouTube. One said like, failure. Another failure is because I had all kinds of stuff growing, kale and stuff, all just loads of it growing, and we had to go to work on the road, and lightning storm tripped the breaker, so the pump went off, and then power comes back on, but the pump's off. And by the time we got home, the heat in Florida, everything was just all wilted and died. So that happened a couple times, and that's when I just said, I'm just switching over to the crack key system as long as we're still going on the road. And now that we're home all the time and doing all of this, I can set one of these back up. Y'all let me know if you'd like me to set one up somewhere or get this going again. Or if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to make sure I answered everyone's question on Facebook. Okay, seed starting. Do you start your seeds elsewhere and plant as seedlings into the system? Yes. Everything's grown. You can either use transplants from the store or grow it as seeds. And once they get big, you can start them in like our downspouts. And once they get big enough, just pull them out of there and drop them in. You are very creative. I'm learning the best process. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. What can I grow? Small space. I have a duplex. Okay, you can see all the stuff we've been growing, right? Leafy greens do really well. You can grow a lot of other stuff. I would start with greens and then test on other things. And then if you get into different things that need different nutrients, you're not going to want to grow them all at the same time. But if you have a small space, You can grow all kinds of leafy greens, and it says you have a small space by your driveway. So you can see what little space that took, just as wide as, I think it's 2 feet. So if you got a couple of feet in between you and the neighbors, you can just load it up with food. Heck, even ask them if they want to go in on it, and you can share with them. We were working on our first garden in years, and I grew up with my grandpa. A whole front yard is a garden. Cool. Never saw tomato plants so big. We're calling them bushes. Awesome. Everything's natural. That's awesome, Vern. Cool. What does NFT stand for? We say NFT is nutrient film technique. And is it open on the top and filled with soil in another hydroponic system or another type hydroponic system? No, I think I explained how that was. It's grown in a different medium. Mine, I actually grow them. I start them off and take them and put them in a pool noodle now. But right back then, I had a little Dixie cup and a little piece of craft foam, and I would just stick it in there. And can you grow beetroot, carrots, and onions on the hydroponics that way? No, you're going to need some kind of medium. So it is possible. You got to figure it out, but you've got to have a cup that's going to hold some kind of medium like soil or perlite or clay pebbles, something like that, that's going to be a medium for your root. And then you're going to have your root vegetable, and the actual roots are going to go down into the nutrient solution, but you've got to keep the actual root that you're going to grow up above it. And it still has to be covered too. So if you're trying to grow some things, those have to be covered. So it's a little bit tricky. If you're new in that, I wouldn't even try it with this type of system. I'd go ahead and just, do all your leafy greens in that and try your root vegetables into something like the Kratky system. I think you all saw Healing Hobbies do that. So, all right, that's the questions. There we go. All right, so I hope that helps. Like I said, this is a cool system. And you guys, if you want to try it out, you don't have to make it as big as I did. I've got 4 pipes. I think they're about $15 a piece, but the what do you call it, joints, the elbows, the 90-degree elbows, those are more expensive. Those were like $5, $6, $7 a piece, and then you need like 2 for each turn. You can do it, and there's all different setups. You can have them capped off and coming down a drain, and you'll have to have your drains all coming back down. People have them piped different ways. People have them where you've got the water inlet coming up a manifold and going out a bunch of different tubes and everything. So there you can get as fancy as you want, or do it as simple like I just did, where I just kind of just had it wind around. You have one inlet at the top, winds around, drops into the reservoir where you have your pump, and then it pumps it right back up. And then from there, you just monitor your level down below, and you can grow all kinds of stuff. So you guys let me know if that explains everything. If not, ask me down below. I'll try to answer some questions. Like I said, I did this like 8 years ago, and I've done it a little bit up here where we live. But the Kratky system that I love is just, set it and forget it, and not worrying about if the power goes out or anything. I love that too. So some people said there's solar pumps that can work with this, but there's solutions to everything. There's all kinds of ways to grow, and you don't have to start big like this. You can start with just one pipe. You can get one 10-foot pipe and cut it into a couple of 3-foot sections, 1, 2, 3, back and forth, and then just stick a little pump in. And you don't need a big 100-gallon trough in the bottom. I've done mine. I took the same system, and we use the 100-gallon trough for our compost right now. And we've actually just took a 16-gallon tote that you can get and use that as a reservoir, and just cut a little hole in the top and have the pipe go into there. So all different things that you can do. So I hope that helps everyone. Let me know what you want to see next. Like I said, I've been going through, I found one of my hard drives and found all these old pictures and that. And if you guys have any questions about what I was doing, and this is all stuff that kind of led up to everything, how I grow today and everything. So if you got any questions on that, just let me know and I'll make another video. Alrighty, we'll talk to y'all later. Live to inspire, keep on growing, and be the change. We'll catch you next time.